Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, July the 3rd, and it is a gray, cloudy, rainy, not sunshiny day in the slightest, but we're still filming in here because I said so. So for all of my Canadian friends, I hope you had a glorious Canada Day. The weather here was decent. It rained in the evening, so the people who were hoping to have some fun outdoor parties in the evening got rained on. Where I was, it didn't sort of rain until, you know, you could have had your supper and barbecue and all that kind of stuff, and it would have been fine. A little chilly, but fine. But after that, you all would have had to go inside. So yes, I'm wearing my Canada hat, and I'm wearing red, and I have a viewer who has commented to me that she actually finds it very jarring when my outfits don't coordinate with my background, and I had to say, this week you're gonna be in for it because I'm gonna clash. The hat is not staying for a very long time, but I'm wearing it in honor of Canada Day with my Canada decoration. It's a little hard to see the little tinsely, sparkly things. There you go. That's better. Well, there you can see it better, but can't see the Canada quite as well. I suppose if I, there you go. That's my Canada Day decoration, period. My Canada Day hat and my red shirt. So happy Canada Day. Even if you aren't Canadian, I hope you had a really great Canada Day, because July 1st comes for everybody. And an early happy July the 4th for all of my American viewers. I hope you're having a lovely long weekend as well. The hat is now coming off, and we're going to have to fix, you know, hat head. Particularly the bangs. Anyway, so there's that. Don't worry, there aren't necessarily going to be props every weekend from here forever, because, you know, I run out of them fairly quickly. All right. This is a channel about cross-stitching and the stitching that I've done over the past week. If you are a new viewer, thank you for stopping by. Sorry, there's a hair. I can feel it. If you're a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And if you're a returning viewer, as always, thrilled that you're coming back and catching up with me. All right, belatedly, we're going to go through comments from the last 3 videos, because the last 2 I was really bad and didn't make notes on them in time. I usually remembered as I was sitting here going like, oh, right, I was supposed to get the comments. Anyway, I've solved that problem this week, so we're back on track. So from 2 weeks ago, thank you to all of you who commented on my fascinator that I was wearing in honor of Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee, the big 5-day celebrations that they had over in Great Britain. So thank you for that. I actually do have a few, and that's a longer story for a different time and area, but anyway. That was the one that I felt like wearing for the Platinum Jubilee. Betsy, I'm hoping that you're close to finishing the diagonal sheep. There's nothing like a good nemesis, and man, are we going to talk about that. Anyway, because I've had a couple this week. And to H. Eden 1, who is a music major, that's awesome. And yes, you should stitch something musical. I have a number of charts in my stash. It's part of my multi-year plan, is that I'm going to try to get some musical things stitched every year so I can bulk up my stitching in my music room. So stay tuned. You should be seeing some musical charts from me, including one from today. And I just wanted to say on last week's video, no, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I got a comment. I had a viewer from the Ukraine, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I really, really hope that you're staying safe. I hope everything is going okay for you. I know that it can't be going well given what's going on in your country, but I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're doing everything that you can to stay safe. And I hope that watching the video gave you a little bit of a momentary not having to think about what exactly is happening there. So, but thank you for watching, and thank you for the comments on the colors of my background. All right. And then from last week's video, so we're now catching up. So Dee made a comment. So I'd made a comment about chart issues and if someone could check their chart if they had bought it more recently, and Dee is one of those people. So Dee, thank you for checking on my behalf. Thank you for saying that nothing has been updated. Anyway, yeah, anyway, but thank you for checking. And Marcy also made a comment also on the sampler stitches, because she was commenting that she's making notes in her charts when I make my comments, which is great. And this is where it benefits to be behind the sal, because then you can let everybody do things and find the problems or come up with brilliant creative ideas that you go, oh, I'm so totally going to copy that. So yes, that's one of the benefits of being behind on a sal, is that you get all of the benefit of the trial and error of multiple people and their commentary. And, you know, like I say, I enjoy watching, you know, like Stitchin' Mommy who's doing it, because her commentary on her experience with sampler stitches isn't necessarily the same as mine. There are stitches that I've struggled with that she was totally fine with. There are stitches that she struggled with that I was totally fine with. We're doing things a little bit differently. Our approaches are a little bit different, and there's always something, you know, maybe not every episode you can glean something new, but you pay attention because you just never know when that gem's going to come up going, ooh, that's going to help me. Anyway, Marcy, good on you for making notes. Okay, Desiree, thank you so much for your comment. I am thrilled that you took your Teal chart to the library and scanned it in there, and it is now working way better for you in Markup RXP. That's awesome. Yeah, Teal in Markup RXP, game changer. We'll chat. Okay, and then I did get a comment from someone who wanted me to explain what the difference was between the cards that had holes versus the cards that didn't have holes in them. So I have some props. So what she's talking about, and I just picked a couple at random here, right? So when I was showing all the stuff about what I got in the exchanges, I was showing floss tags, some of which have holes in them. And I brought mine as the really great example of floss tags that don't have holes in them, of which there were several of all of the different varieties. So what is the difference? The difference is these people tried to show up with a finished project, and these people went, I don't want to say that they were lazy or they didn't do enough. They kind of went, which was exactly my reaction. That's why mine were not hole punched. So mine were not hole punched. So they should have holes in them. I chose not to punch my holes for a variety of reasons. One, because I graciously positioned my QR code to scan in right where the hole punch would have screwed it up. And even when I ordered them, I knew that. But my answer to that was like, well, all they have to do is scan it in the one time and go from there, and they can hole punch to their heart's extent. So I didn't hole punch mine so that everybody, regardless, would end up with one that had an intact QR code, and then they could hole punch to their heart's content. I also did not punch mine for a couple of reasons, because as with everything cross-stitching related, everybody has a preference. So I brought a couple of examples. So this one, right? So big circular hole here and a little one. This is the one that you would put on the floss ring, and this is where you would hang your floss, and you would attach it sort of the way you get it from Skeins of Gast and Weeks Dye Works, Classic Colorworks, all that kind of stuff. Now, there are some people who like the round. I know of people that like square, and in fact, in the ones that I showed you, I did get one that has a square hole punch. This particular set has a heart-shaped hole punch. I don't know if that's beneficial or not. I don't know if anybody likes or dislikes that. But again, so even the shape of the hole that people use to put their floss on these floss tags can be different. Can be different shapes, sizes, etc. And again, that's a category where I go, to me, that is personal preference. And so I defaulted to, And yes, by the way, that's the technical term for that. Here's my tag. Punch to your heart's content in whichever configuration you want. Because as you notice, so this one has 2 hole punches. This one has 3 hole punches. So same thing. There's a hole punch at the top for where it gets attached to the ring. Here's the one that you're going to attach like the bulk of the skein. And then there are people who have another hole that is smaller than the main one down here at the bottom, and it could be either the same size or bigger than the one that holds the ring. And this is for when you have a little bit left over, but it's not like a full length or multiple strands, or, well, it could be like 3 out of the 6 strands of some smaller length or whatever, and you're just sort of saying like start with this because this is your partially used bit. So again, so what's the difference is that some people went full hog and went, here's your project card ready to be attached to a project right now at this very moment in time. Then there's the people who went, Yes, there's that technical term again. I will say I did go into the Facebook group because there is a Facebook group for StitchCon attendees. You can only join the Facebook group if you were a paid attendee. The Facebook group is open until, I'm going to say it's like, I'm going to call it September. So I do need to make sure I get in there and get the last little bits of things that I want to check up on. Because as soon as they start taking registration for StitchCon 2023, which will be September-esque, they will boot everybody out of the Facebook group that's there right now, and so that they can let everybody who's a paid attendee for 2023 in. And it is a really great resource for the people who are attending, because it's like, you know, who's got recommendations about hotels and where to eat and what if I need, and 27 things, you know, because, you know, both from Weekend Day and from what I've seen from videos on Weekend B, there were a lot of first-time attenders, right? And, you know, as they go for it, I'm expecting that there will be new attenders every year. And so it's always good to have that where somebody can say like, hey, I'm trying to decide between X and Y. Do I need a car? Do I not need a car? Is there a this close by? Is there a that close by? What if I need 27 things, etc., etc. So that's the Facebook group. And so I had gone into the Facebook group and watched, you know, and quite frankly, looked for the discussion on the floss tags and what everybody was deciding. You know, so there were things like, how many do we think we're going to be giving out? And that's, quite frankly, that's before I made my order for these, for mine to be printed. I'd gone in there and said, like, watch the big debate about what was everybody doing, and generally the consensus was 5, and I went, great. So I just, that's how I did my math and went from there. So, you know, people could do more, people could do less. Like I say, I got one where, you know, the lady said, I only have 1 left. I was like, I will take the 1. That's awesome. Thank you so much. That's perfect. You know, so anyway, but that's the difference, is that these people were more efficient. And it's not to say that these people didn't think about it, because there was a lot of discussion. Like, so Jan Hicks, hers were not punched. And she was part of the discussion in the Facebook group about, is there preference? What do people want to do? And a lot of it, you know, and again, am I unhappy that somebody hole punched this one for me? No, I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine with this too. I'm also totally fine with this. That's me. Because we all know I'm not a regular floss tag holder, but I am going to come up with a ring where, so I'm going to break these up and I'm just going to have one of everybody's including my own, which means it's going to have to get hole punched at least once and just hang them up and go, that's my StitchCon ring. Now, I do have plans for how I will use these cards going forward. Not necessarily as floss tags, but I do have plans for what I'm going to do with these on a go forward basis, so stay tuned for that. But that's the only difference. No, nobody has a really glorious idea of what to do with these ones that don't have the hole punch and wrapping it around. It's not to say that you couldn't, but that's not generally why people provided these cards with no holes in them. So I hope that answers your question. Got some fluff. Alrighty. I feel like there's another topic I'm supposed to talk about and it's not in the notes. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully it will come back to me at some point. Ah, I know what it is. The bonus video. Okay, by the time you see this video, it really, 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 really should be up. It's been a journey, and I'm not going to go into it because it will bring up all the bad things that happened while I was putting that together. Anyway, it was supposed to be up yesterday, and then a horrible thing happened that completely corrupted the entire thing. It was a disaster. It was bad. It was bad. But when you get to like your third round of trying to piece something together, you're way more efficient because you've already, you know, put things in order and, you know, come up with your text things and 27 other things. So it's a little bit faster, but not quite as fast as getting it properly done the first go round. Anyway, so that one is getting loaded first. I will tell you that one is about an hour and a half long. I think the video looks like it's 126-ish. So sorry, it's a long one. So what's in there is the video of the brag table from weekend A tour of the annex. I will say, looking at my video, I have a moment where I go like, I think I didn't quite. I think there's a little bit that I missed somewhere in the middle, but and it just could have been that there were a lot of people hanging around and the entire time I was in there, and I just went, that's fine. Anyway, you'll get a lot of it. So the annex, the smalls exchange for the white chip holders and the blue chip holders. Like I say, I missed red because I was shopping at Keepsakes when red was going on. And some miscellaneous pictures. I was terrible at taking pictures with floss tubers and variety. Like I got home and I was like, I didn't even take a like our table didn't even take a table picture. We were terrible. Like I know exactly who they are and I can pick them out of a lineup, but we didn't take pictures. Anyway, I'm not the best picture taker, but anyway. And I will say, you will clearly see from the video that I'm not a professional photographer. So anyway, but I hope you enjoy it. Again, you don't necessarily have to watch everything in one go. A lot of the videos coming out on StitchCon are lengthy videos. I feel like I'm about 75 videos behind, and someday I may catch up. But, you know, that is the benefit. If you don't have time to watch it this week, don't worry. It's going to be there next week, and the week after that, and, you know, 6 months after that, and whatever. Anyway, so it will be up on the Flosstube channel for whenever you want to watch it. A couple of the pictures are also the pictures of the boards that they had set up so that you would know all of the floss tubers who attended weekend A. So there's a big giant, it's actually 2 pictures because they had to have 2 boards. There were that many. If you're ever wanting to look for floss tubers who were attending StitchCon, whether it was weekend A or weekend B, you can go to the StitchCon website, which I will link down below, and they have listed all of the floss tubers who were attending. So you can, if you're ever kind of going like, hey, I just want to try somebody new, trust me, there's a big long list on the StitchCon website for you to check people out. And as with everything in life, some of them you're going to love and some of them you're going to go, not my cup of tea. You know, not that there's anything wrong with what they're stitching or what they're doing or whatever. You know, I will totally acknowledge, I think that there are people who go like, I don't really need to watch her, which is totally fine, because I'm either not stitching the projects that they're interested in, you know, 27 things about what I'm doing. They just sort of go, eh, you know, and that's okay. Like, I've got friends who watch Flosstube, and some we watch in common, but there's a lot that we don't watch in common, where everybody has things where they go like, they watch person X and I don't watch person X or person Y. And it's not that there's anything wrong with them, and it's struck a chord with, you know, that particular person. And for me, it's like, you know, I may periodically watch them, or I rarely watch them, or who knows. But that's the benefit of having a lot of floss tubers out there, is that you have all sorts of variety, and you can find the people that resonate with you and that you enjoy watching for 27 reasons, and you can watch those people, and it's great. And it's a worldwide community. And I'm going to go back. I know I talked about this last week, but it's like, I would say if you have the opportunity and you can go to StitchCon, my answer is go to StitchCon. And it's totally fine if you sort of go, I went, I saw, I don't need to go again. That's totally fine too. And there are, again, if you're an introvert, which many stitchers are, welcome to the project, the craft that we can do at home all by ourselves. You know, and you enjoy smaller ones because you get to talk to everybody and you really get to know them and spend time with them and know about them and have had a good conversation with everybody. You can't get that in a room full of 300. But it really is an interesting feeling walking into a room and going, everybody here loves the craft like you. They stitch different things. Some of them stitch on brown fabric. Anyway, whatever, you know, but they love the craft just as much as you do. And they're enthused and excited, and tips and tricks and 27 other things. So I would always say at least go once just to experience it. For some people, it's like, I want to go every year, which is great. For some people, it's like, I would absolutely love to go back, but there are other stitching events that I'd like to go to as well, and welcome to the land of budgeting. Totally, everybody's got their thing. But if you have the opportunity, I would say go, because it really is an experience. And that was great. And so I'm thrilled that I went. I would go again. I don't know that it's my #1 international travel for cross-stitch next journey. In fact, I've got a couple of other ones that I'm trying to sort of figure out how they're going to fit into the planning over the next couple of years. But I would go back. So anyway, there's that. All right, let's get on to some stitching. And I'm going to warn you right now, I'm really sorry, but this one's going to be a long one too. I'm sorry. Some people love the long ones, but I've been looking at my thing going like, let's see, 2 weeks ago was 2 hours. Last week was 2 hours. The bonus one's an hour and a half. Anyway, you don't have to watch it all in one sitting. All right, let's get into some stitching. I have a finish. Yes, a little reorganization. Yeah, piles. Okay, finally, and it really was June 30th. The Country Cottage Needleworks Cottage of the Month, June. It's a little bit funny that I'm showing you this because that is my finish for this week. I got it all finished up, which is great. This one has taken me the whole month. Now, I will totally acknowledge, certainly the week that I got home from StitchCon, I spent pretty much no time working on this because I was working on my dad's Father's Day project unexpectedly. But man, this was a finicky one. Look at all those crazy flowers up here. 4 white stitches and 1 yellow. And there's 16 of them. Want to know how much I loved stitching those? Now my problem, as always, is I like how it looks at the end. I just don't necessarily enjoy all of the journey. to get there. But it is done, so I am still on track of getting the cottages of the month done in the month that they are. Not fully finished, but the stitching is finished, so June is done. Okay. I also worked on Sampler Stitches by the Drawn Thread, a series of 9 charts. I'm doing this as a stitch along with the Stitch and Mommy, as I talked about at the beginning. And I got what I wanted, mostly got what I wanted to get accomplished. So I finished up the letter M. So I finished up this Maltese cross. Yes, I have to hollow the thing because, again, I never remember the names of the stitches. I just follow the stitch diagram. So I got the Maltese cross finished. I got my Moorish stitch here. I will tell you right now, I reversed the colors. It was supposed to be yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, but that meant that there was more yellow than green. So I made it green, yellow, green, yellow. The called for yellow here was also supposed to be this darker one, as opposed to the very light one. But I just felt like as I'm working around, because this is the only one that has this very light one, which was used for the jonquil. I am going to try to work it into each of these charts so that there's a little bit of that just in this middle section, and then I'm expecting in the bottom 3 charts we'll go back to predominantly using this darker one. Personal choice, and I have the right to come back and unstitch it, but right now I'm going, that's highly unlikely. I'm totally fine with it. Off we go. But I did reverse that. Also, thank you to somebody, maybe it was Marcy as well, who made a comment about, again, they graciously went back and looked at the pictures I had, because I had commented on that I had already noticed that the instructions for this, the model stitch is the reverse of the instructions. And I said I was going to go check the pictures that I'd taken at the Craft Connection. Whoops, I'm going to need a beverage. And I think I've made my decision that I'm actually going to go with the way that it looks here on the front. So this is all the dark blue, both outer border and the letter. This is also dark blue outer border and the letter. This is dark blue border, light blue letter, and for balance, I think I'm gonna follow this this model version, or the cover model version, just to bring in more of the light blue here, just to try to balance the palette out, as opposed to having 5 dark blues and 4 light blues. So I think I am going to go with this way when I start stitching that today. Once all of the videos get up, I honestly, if they're up before, like, you know, 8 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow, I think it's going to be a miracle, but we'll see how it goes. So there's that. So M is finished. I am on track. So M was supposed to be finished last Sunday, so I am on track with where to progress on this, so that I get the entire thing finished by the end of the year, which is great. So that's 2 overarching goals for the year that I'm totally on track. Cottage of the month, on track. Sampler of stitches, on track. So I think I'm doing well. All right. Which brings me to my new start. Yeah, I'm having a problem. So for July, I'm going to do my own personal version of Christmas in July-esque. Isn't that awesome? Or Christmas in July-ish. So I will be working on some Christmas projects in the month of July, but clearly I will be working on some things in July that are not Christmas related. So my new start for July, this is going to be a funny one. So from the Victoria Sampler, this is White Christmas now, because it's a gloomy, cloudy day. I've got the ring light on, so that's the gist. So I will say this is, I have to admit, because I was pulling all the data together so I would have my facts ready for today's video, and when I was looking the stuff up, I went, yep. This chart has a copyright of 1992. I don't know that I necessarily bought this chart in 1992, but the copyright is 1992. So Teaduic, this is a 30-year-old design. As I say, I like to let some of my charts marinate well, but it's finally getting stitched. So the other thing with it being a 1992 chart, I'm just trying to figure out if I can, yeah, there's no good way to do this. It's a hand-drawn chart. Actually, yeah, so here's the, let me do this. There are my symbols. It's a hand-drawn chart. Anyway, it's totally fine. I will work my way through it. Here's where it gets interesting, because the entire time that I've owned this chart, I've wanted to stitch it, and I absolutely love the concept of this design. I don't know what's up with my voice today and what it looks like, but I don't particularly enjoy the white on white, because I think it, for my personal taste, you don't see the design clearly enough. And yes, with decorating, blah, 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 tone on tone, and et cetera, and that's, some people love that, and I think that's great. For me, I think the design is a little bit lost when it's stitched white on white, and particularly a design like this. So, of course, how do you fix that? Well, don't stitch it on white. This is called White Christmas, so the stitching needs to be white. The background does not need to be white, or at least that's where I'm at right now. Okay. So and again, I've had this probably almost as long as I've had the chart. So whenever I got it, so this is very old fabric. It's got weird things stringing off here, and I'll explain why. So there is my start. And wow, the colors are doing weird things here. So I am stitching this on a 28 count teal. The color name is teal. I don't think it looks teal, but according to the bag, it's Teal Quaker Cloth. Now, as I said, I have owned the chart for a long time. I've owned this fabric for a long time, so I have no idea whether this color of fabric is still available or not. And yes, I've got weird strings hanging off, and I'll explain to you why in a bit. Actually, I'll explain right now, because the answer is I am not 100% convinced that this is the right way to go. So I need to do a couple more rows here, but I was having a look at it this morning, you know, because after you stitch on it, blah, 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 it's always good to take some step away, time to reflect, come back and look at it. I wasn't 100% convinced last night, but today I'm going, I think this is going to be okay. I think I'm actually going to like this come the end of the day. But that's why I have weird strings hanging off in weird places and stuff like that, because I acknowledged the possibility that I was going to go, and maybe not. And I didn't want to scrub the fabric if I decided this wasn't the right way to go. So the other thing is the very first band on here is a band of hem stitching. So it's one where you have to cut the horizontal threads and reweave them in, and there's a whole process around that. So I skipped band 1 because I said I wasn't 100% sure on my fabric choice. So I skipped band 1 and then just kept going down and worked band 2, band 3, which is a row of Algerian eyelets. And now I'm working on the wording, which is Dreaming of a White Christmas, which I can't help myself. According to the design, it's Dreaming of a White Christmas with 2 dots. And I can't have 2 dots, it has to be 3. So true to form, I'm shifting the whole thing over one, because there is enough room. So I'm shifting it over 1 so I can get my 3rd dot in. Anyway, because I said, anyway. The thing that I've changed on here is that the lettering here, the called for fiber for that is DMC 318. I have chosen to do it with DMC Etoile. Now, again, I don't remember what I was working on where I had pulled it out, because there are people who have said, you know, when you buy DMC Etoile, it looks gray. And there are people, because I've seen it on Instagram and in discussion groups and 27 other things, where people are like, but when you stitch it up, it really does look white. It's fine. It's just because of the metallic thread that makes the skein look gray. I tried it on something on a previous project, either this year or late last year, and got in there and went, and no. As far as I was concerned, it does not look white. Doesn't mean it's not right for certain things. So I use the DMC Etoile instead of the DMC 318 because it does have that little bit of a gray hue. It does have a little bit of sparkle in there. This chart calls for DMC pearl cottons in size 8 and size 12 because, you know, it's me. Kreinik blending filament for a little sparkle. Anyway, the thing that's going to prove to be a problem on this particular design is, of course, that they have, and again, really hard to see, all of these one stitch, like randomly here. Now, when you're doing white on white, you probably can drag your travel with your thread because you're using white thread on white fabric and it won't be horrible. I did do a practice version of that on this before I even started on band 1, and that's not going to work on this. I will not be able to travel at all. I don't really want to do start and stop pin stitches for every single one of them. It might end up there. I don't know. The other problem, yeah, so technically the fiber that's called for is 1 strand of DMC white floss with 2 strands of Kreinik blending filament 032. So anyway, so I haven't come up with my solution for that. I know that I'm going to have to adjust. Worst case scenario is I will go and get some petite beads. And if I end up doing beads instead of these stitches here, I will end up getting a couple of colors. So it will probably be white, a silver, something else, just so it's just not all the same bead. And I'll randomly use them. But stay tuned. Because I totally have the ability to come down here, stitch the wreath, which again, whew. So there's beads in the wreath, and French knots, which again, from a textural standpoint, will look lovely, right? You'll have your Kreinik blending filament, which is really the twigs for the whole tree, with some beads, with some French knots. It will, texturally, it will be lovely. That's why I'm kind of going like, I don't know that beads out here are particularly the right answer, but I haven't come up with a solution yet. Anyway, but so far, like I said, I'm going to do a couple more of the bands before I make my final decision, but Last night I wasn't 100% sure that that we were going in the right direction on this, but when I came back and looked at it today, I went, no, I think it's going to be lovely. Feel free to put thoughts, comments, votes down below. All right. So that is the stitching I've done. This hasn't been a huge stitching week for me because I've been, you know, doing a bunch of other things, but progress is progress. I did not start the July cottage of the month this week because I really only got finished on June 30th, and at that point I'm like, I don't want to stitch a cottage again. So I'm giving myself an entire week off from the cottage. No cottage. But then, you know, I'll have to start the July cottage because otherwise it won't get done in the month of July, and it needs to get done in the month of July. The other thing that's taken time up for me with the July cottage is because the July cottage is designed for in celebration of July the 4th. So it's blue, red, and white, which is totally fine. I just can't stitch. I just can't stitch that for me. So I'm having to adapt the color palette. The red and white is totally fine. I'm adapting the color palette. I'm taking the blue out. So I've had to spend some time with my DMC color card and looking at some things and reevaluating that, as well as actually going back and looking for, because there's a stitched American-esque flag on for that cottage, which of course I'm going to have to turn into a Canadian flag. That maple leaf is a bit of a bear to adjust, but I think I've located a version that will work for what I'm doing. So I think, you know, the time has been well spent getting the stuff pulled together, but I'm not actually going to stitch on it until at least the 7th, if not the 8th or the 9th, just cause. But I do need to look at it, because the problem with these ones, as I discovered for the last couple, is like, man, it's like, how did I get January finished off so quickly? Because I did really well on that one. I think it's because, you know, when you're designing, you start with the first one, and as you go, you sort of go, oh, I can add this and that and this and that. And yeah, French knots on the ladybugs, French knots on the strawberries, all those little flowers. Anyway, it's stitched and I like it, but it took me all month. All right. Yes, I need to get organized for the next part. Okay. Yes. This is why it's good when I have the tables organized, because I know what I'm doing. Last week I couldn't find it, but I've got it here. So this is the light that I took with me to StitchCon. It's actually a mighty bright. I didn't put the batteries in because, as I said, I learned my lesson. It'll accidentally turn on. But the good thing about this, and I was looking, so when I went into my Amazon account, because I got this off of Amazon, the one that I had bought was no longer available. So it's like, thanks, we're glad you ordered that, but we can't get anything. But they always come up with suggestions that are similar to this. So this is the concept, you know, LED lights, uses 3 AAA batteries. I think there are versions out there that now have like rechargeable batteries inside them, and that you charge a light like this up with a USB cord. So I had them, I was like, ooh, maybe I should look into one of those. I didn't do anything with it at the time, but it is on my to-do list, going like, ooh, maybe you should get one that has that you charge with a USB cord as opposed to a AAA battery. But the part that I liked, one, so blah, 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 flexible, you know, thing, so that it can go whichever way you want. And again, because everything that I took with me, I specifically took because it would fit on a 6x6 Q-snap, you know. Actually, let's take, sorry, I'm just going to take the clamp off, because the clamp with no fabric can move on this one. Right, so it clamps onto a Q-snap conveniently. Now it's going to rumble around because there's nothing for it to grip onto. So by the time you get the clamp and the fabric and the blah, 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 this stays in place. But yeah, so that's what I took. It was totally fine for, as I said, for a retreat like that or a situation like that. I would take this again. As I said, if I end up going to my friend's place on the lake later this summer, I will take my Halo Go. But this is, I would probably actually take the Halo Go and this, because you just never know. Anyway, so that's, there was no link to the Amazon shop because it was no longer available. But if you just went to Amazon and searched for Mighty Bright Clamp On Light or something like this, I'm sure Amazon will come up with a plethora of options for you to look at. I also liked mine because the one that I got, because it came with this case. Just to, you know, again, never hurts to have a little bit of protection for your lights when you're traveling. So there's that. All right. Yeah, I'm moving stuff around. It's quite a collection today. Oh yeah. All right. Stashquisitions. I have Stashquisitions this week because clearly after I showed you my Stashquisitions from StitchCon, anyway, we'll move right along. But one of them I just wanted to, because I didn't have it at the time, is the Jan Hicks StitchCon exclusive. And again, I think Desiree said she was watching the Jan Hicks that said right now. So you, as someone who did not go to StitchCon, can still get this chart, but the only place you can get it from right now is Keepsakes. I think at some point down the road, and I don't know what the time frame is for that, this will become available. But this is Jan Hicks's Stitch Happiness. The colors in this are lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I mean, you just have to fix the brown background. Anyway, and I'm debating changing the coloring of the alphabet up here, but it's lovely. So that's her Stitch Happiness. And then it's funny, you'll see this, if you've watched other Weekend Day brag table videos, you will have seen this. It's in mine as well. But somebody stitched this particular one. A friend and I were chatting about it, and she was like, that is so you, so you, so you. You should get the chart. She's like, you were there. Did you get the details? And I'm like, well, of course I got the details, but I was doing a really good job resisting. Except that I have bought charts from this particular Etsy shop before, which meant when they were having a sale, I got the notification. So I bought it. So this is the one from Happy Mood Point on Etsy. Now this shows you with blue stitching on a white background. The one from StitchCon Weekend A from the brag table was white stitching done on a blue background, which is lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. It's probably huge. I didn't care. I was like, all right, fine. If you're going to put it on sale, I will get it. Also, this is totally StitchCon's fault. Again, brag table. From Fiddlesticks AU, this stamp with the silhouette of Queen Elizabeth. Now, don't take it the wrong way. The one on the brag table is great. Clearly they did this wrong. We're in the year of the Platinum Jubilee, and all of the colors right now are sort of that purpley color. So clearly this should be purple, according to me. The person who stitched it for the brag table also did it with purples. Only requires 2 colors of DMC. I went and spent my $2.80 Canadian and got the Fiddlesticks AU one to add to the things that I need to stitch. All right, the next one, I don't actually have the cover, and I don't have my phone with me, so I can show you a picture. It is from River Drift House Needlework Designs. because the problem was when I was buying the stamp one, you know, when you go on Etsy and it says people who bought this also liked fill in these other ones, which had this link to a River Drift one. They did a commemorative sampler for the Platinum Jubilee, which I liked anyway. But on Etsy, it only came as a kit. So they're from, River Drift is from the UK. They were only selling it on Etsy as a kit with 14 count Aida. You know, I'm not great with a kit. I'm not great with an Aida kit. Anyway, so I just sent them a message in Etsy and said, look, I really like your sampler. Is there any way that I can get like a PDF of the chart? I'm an international, I'm international for you, so it would save me on the shipping. And actually, quite frankly, I would prefer to stitch on an even weave. Can I get the chart? And so they very promptly responded and said, yes, if you go to the River Drift shop itself, not through Etsy, they have a special item in their shop that says, you know, just the PDF chart. So really you just click on it, and in the note section when you're ordering, you just tell them which chart you want, and then they will send that to you. So that's what I did this weekend as well. So I sent them the message, they responded, I bought it off of their site, and have it in my stash, ready to go when I feel like I need to stitch on it, which I don't, you know me, blah, 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 70th Platinum Jubilee. Don't be surprised 10 years from now if that's when I finally get around to stitching the Platinum Jubilee sampler. It's totally fine. But while I was there, so they also have, they had a note on their site that said you can get PDFs of their charts from Creative Poppy. So I went and had a look at Creative Poppy. The one that I was looking for was not available through Creative Poppy, so it was totally fine. I got it through River Drift directly. But, you know, when you find a new designer to you kind of have to, you know, look through some stuff. And so they had this chart, and this was available through Creative Poppy, so I got this one. So this is from River Drift House. This is called Birds and Words Musical. So they have a whole Birds and Words series. This is the only one I want because it's all musical. Love it, love it, love it. Now I don't know that I love all the birds. I love the words and I love the concept. I'll clearly have to change the color palette. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to keep... I don't mind a few birds, but don't be surprised if my version when I get to stitching this is a little less birdie. But I thought it was lovely. Sorry with that ring light glare, but anyway. So that came from Creative Poppy. And of course, you know, when you're on there, blah, 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 you're scrolling down, getting ready to add it to the cart. They have this little thing that says, and would you like to click on everything where the topic is musical? Well, of course I had to click on that. Anyway, I didn't get another musical chart, but it sent me down another rabbit hole. So the other one I got from Creative Poppy, because no chart should travel alone, is from Fabi Riley. So this is called Victorian Christmas Humbug. So a little Christmas tree, fireplace, little girl, and it says Noel, lovely, lovely, lovely. And since I've got the hang of a Biscornu, and I have watched Helen D, the East Coast crafter, she says humbugs, if you can do a Biscornu, you can do a humbug. Now, these humbugs are stitched differently than the ones that Helen D did, but I'm feeling somewhat cocky and confident about, you know, if I can do a Biscornu, I can probably do a humbug. Check back later. Anyway, so that's also from creativepoppy.com. Got it as a PDF, instant gratification, electronic, which means I can load it into Mark of RXP. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, the last category of Stashquisitions is because I made the mistake of going to Michael's. I was looking for something specifically, specifically looking for a DMC Light Effects, which they actually didn't have. They didn't even have a spot for it. And yes, the DMC collection at my local Michael's is like pathetic. But you know, you can't go to Michael's and just like go to the section you're aiming for, right? Like you have to go through the store. I was a little thrown that apparently pumpkin season is upon us. So the displays were not fully out, but trust me, the collection of pumpkins and fall and harvest are coming out. It was very disturbing to me. We are way too early in the summer to be doing pumpkin season anything. We're just hitting our stride for summer. Don't give me pumpkins. Anyway, upside to that is it does mean that the summer stuff is 60% off. So I was going through the sort of the very thin summer section, seriously on sale, 60% off, and had a little stop and went, oh, that's a problem. And it's a problem because I went to StitchCon. Because people showed these things. Now, again, I was very grateful that I didn't get one of these things because it would have been a challenge getting it home. I probably would have made it work, but it would have been more of a challenge. But when it's at your local one, and it's the whole wooden Adirondack, and I had a problem. So there it was in Michael's. It's navy blue. Put a pillow. Yeah, I had a whole thing going on. And 60% off. It came home. The problem was in that little section where this was. So they had it in navy blue. They had it in mint green. And I will say compared to my background here, it's looking horrible. In normal sunlight, without the ring light, this actually coordinates quite nicely. They had it in mint green. And I got a white one too. It's StitchCon's fault, by the way. If I didn't see the really cute finishes. Anyway. So they were there. They were in my color palette. They were 60% off. They came home. All right. Sorry, I have to juggle these now. To get ready for the next section. All right. So those are my Stashquisitions for this week. Sadly, I've got a couple orders that are coming. Anyway, we'll deal with that when they arrive. But, so that's it for that. We are now on to the topic. So the topic for this week is let's talk Velke Potoky. So, I'm not going to show it to you just yet, but Velke Potoky is the one that I got is the tabletop stand. I had originally ordered it because I was hoping I might have it in time to take with me to StitchCon, because with all the stitching at home, I have lost my ability to stitch on a Q-snap without a stand. I've lost that skill. So I ordered the Velke Potoky. So I will, a couple of things. You do have to wait for this product, period. This is not one where you go order it and, you know, you're gonna get it in the next 3 months. It's not. I ordered it and I waited and waited several months. Now, I don't think it was like 6 months. I want to say it was maybe 3 months, 3.5 months before I got notified that they had a shipping date for me. So when you order, the other thing you also need to know is you do not give them any money. Until they tell you that they are ready to ship your product, you do not spend any money. You send no money, no PayPal, no anything. You don't give them credit card information, no nothing. You just sort of say, I would like one of X. And they go, thank you for your order. We'll let you know when we're ready to ship it to you, and then you can pay us. So, you know, there's upside. Yes, it's a long wait, because unlike some other things that I can think about where they go, it's a really long wait. That particular one I'm thinking of, you pay up front and you wait and you wait and you wait and you never hear anything. This one, you wait, and yes, you don't hear anything in the interim. They don't sort of say, hey, you're moving up in the line, you're getting close to the top. You get nothing. You put in your order, they go, thanks for your order. We'll get back to you when we're getting close to being ready to ship it. So they sent me a PayPal request when they said, hey, we're expecting in the next 10 days that we'll be ready to ship your thing. Pay your bill. So I paid my bill. They acknowledged the payment. Everything was good to go. And then I waited. And I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. Now, I was getting to the point where I was getting a little worried, but I was like going, shipping, it's coming from overseas, blah, 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 27 things. The other little wrinkle in the plan is, for some reason in my head, I thought it was coming from Czechoslovakia. It is not coming from Czechoslovakia. Velke Potoky is Ukrainian. So when they're getting ready to ship in early March, there were a few things going on in the country which persist to today that I could easily see would have had probably a material impact on shipping. Now, so upside is it totally arrived safely. It took a little longer arriving than I was expecting. Like I say, I was going to actually reach out to them saying, I don't know what our options are, what to do with this. But now it didn't arrive in time for me to take with me to StitchCon, which, hey, that's life. Welcome to the world of, you know, ordering overseas and shipping and from the Ukraine. So I am glad I bought it from them because I like to support the Ukrainians and at least they got some money out of me. But I did get my product. I've seen unboxings and I didn't do a specific unboxing for this because we're going to talk about it, but I do want to talk about how it arrived because I have seen ones where it came in a wooden crate and you had to unscrew the crate and blah, 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 and use an Allen key and all that kind of stuff. Mine did not come in a wooden crate, which is totally fine for me because actually the wooden crate would be heavier than this. So mine came in a box. So this is the box that it came in. It's a very good box. Very good box. This is what the box looks like. It came absolutely pristine. No dents, no, you know, because we all know we've seen boxes where it looks like, holy smokes, it looks like, you know, the truck ran over it 3 times before they decided to, you know, give it to you. But this is my box. Pristine, pristine. It was plastic wrapped with all of the shipping information, all that kind of stuff on it. Which is why when I looked at it, I was like, ooh, and ooh, Ukraine. Well, that could explain why it took a little longer than I was expecting. But it did arrive. This is the box. So when you open this box, you get another box. Now, it has this little handle so you can pull it out easier because we all know boxes within boxes can be hard. So they're smart. They went, we'll give you a little assistance. This box opens up like this. Again, I've kept all the boxes. It came fabulously well packed. I'm just going to do a quick little... And when you open that box, you get a felt bag like this. It came with a little tie, but clearly the tie is gone. So there's my felt bag. And quite frankly, I am totally keeping this felt bag and I'm using this felt bag. I did take the Velke Potoky to our get-together at the library. So the ladies from the library got to see this in advance. I did say you're getting an advance notice of next week's topic. So I will keep this, and quite frankly, wherever I take this, this is how I'm going to take the Velke Potoky. So it's going to have its own little travel bag. I don't feel like I need anything to just like blah, 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 just shove it in. It's all good to go. And so here is my Velke Potoky. Whoops. I was going to show one other thing. only because I just want to show how compact this thing can get. So this is the Velke Potoky completely closed. So the thing that I was winding was this part up here, right? So I was making it small enough that it can comfortably clear this bottom part. I got the gray one. So in terms of length, there you go. I don't have the measurements, but and it was interesting when I took it to the library, and the other ladies were looking at, they were like going, they're, you know, handed around, everybody has a look, and they're like, ooh, it's lighter than I thought. So I like it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not too heavy to carry with me. So clearly I will be taking this to the stitching at the library from now on. I love it. And so what it does is it's a straight, you know, lift it up. You've got this knob here, which allows you to decide sort of what angle you want this top part to be at. Now, clearly stitching at that angle is probably not the best, but you've got, right, so you just tighten it to wherever you want it positioned. It does say Velke Potoky engraved here on the bottom. And then this is where you clamp your Q-snap or hoop. So I specifically got this, again, because I wanted, because I was discovering I got used to stitching with a stand and I wasn't able to do things without it. So that's why I got this. So I would definitely say this is not a good stand if you are wanting to work with a scroll rod. So I would never use this for anything like Sampler of Stitches or Jerusalem or anything that I've got on a scroll frame. This is not the right product for that. There are other stands that I use for those. But again, this I was specifically looking to be small, portable, that would work with a Q-snap. And so it hits all of those buttons for me. I'm having a moment going, where is the prop? There it is. So again, after my StitchCon thing where I specifically took everything that I took to StitchCon, I was using on a 6x6. Right, so there it is. This is going to slip like this because there's no fabric in there for it to clamp onto. Anyway, trust me, when there's fabric in there, it works just fine. But, you know, it doesn't shift around in there. And when I'm using it, all I have to do is lightly loosen this and then I slide it out horizontally as opposed to trying to take it out from the front, because there's a little lip on the inside which is providing that grip. Now I have seen people, let's just put this up here. This is, okay, we're just going to shift this. There we go. All right. So I have seen people sort of complain that they can't shift this part to the angle that they want. And my answer to that is it's a little, I don't have that problem. Because as you can see, once I get my clamp in there, and I'm going to tighten it up because it'll still move on its own, right? So if I wanted it this angle, or if I want it on this angle, or if I want it on this angle, I can do that. And quite frankly, even when the fabric is in there, I can usually move it enough to sort of get it in there and go like, oh, maybe a little higher, a little lower. I can move it without necessarily having to adjust this a lot. But again, depending on, you know, what lighting you're needing or the setup of the table, you know, what the right effect is, right? So even though I said this is probably not the right one, right? So you could set it on the table. This would extend out past the table. It would still be there, right? So this is a 6-inch Q-snap. One of the things that I like about this is, and again, so for how do you finish on the back? No problem. Easy peasy, no adjustment required. I have seen one where they're complaining that theirs is tilting left or right. That's not mine. I don't have that problem at all. Trust me, it's staying there just fine. So 6-inch Q-snap is awesome. 8-inch Q-snap, which is what I'm using for which is what I'm using for Dreaming of Christmas, is okay, but it's not quite, it takes a little, the turning around is a little more problematic. And yes, I have all of this because I didn't cut it off because I didn't know if I was going to use this fabric, and there's no point cutting into a fat quarter if you decide that's not the right answer. Retrieve all the fabric. So this is an 8x8. This is harder. Now again, so at this angle, it will turn without hitting anything. Now, depending on, so if you've changed your angle when you do this, you may run into a little more problems. Depending on where your light is, you may have to, you know, I have had to, and I have been using this at home because once I got it, I was using it for every Q-snap project I ever used, so I could talk about it. So even at home, I'm using this with my Q-snaps. And so I will say I have had angles where I've had to kind of adjust and bring it up and whatever, and move my light out of the way so that I could get to the back. But an 8x8 is not bad. 6x6, totally perfect. 8x8, not bad. 11x11, I think would be a problem unless you were like, I wouldn't recommend using an 11x11 unless you were actually getting to the point where you were really sort of keeping it way out here. But even then, like, I'm looking at going like, this is going to be a problem. I can just tell. Like 11x11, yeah, no. 11x11 I think is going to be a problem. Anyway. So I am, there we go. It's like, let's just turn the knob on so I can stop fiddling with it. I'm very happy with it. I love it. I think this is a great solution for me. And again, I was looking for solutions specifically for portability and flexibility. And I know that you can get those sort of lap stand things that sort of, they're all Q-snappy like. Those just didn't appeal to me. And I don't know why. And anyway, I had my own issues with that. Which is what led me down the path to getting a Velke Potoky. Like I say, I used to have the ability where I could go out and I could stitch with people and use a Q-snap and not have a stand, but I've lost that ability. I don't know what happened, but anyway. So I got it. Yes, I've been using, so it came literally the day after I got home from StitchCon. And I kind of laughed when I looked at the box and went, oh, there you are, Velke Potoky. Totally fine. I'm glad that I've got it. I'm glad it made the journey from the Ukraine. But it's, I took it to the Stitching at the Library. It was great. I'm very happy with this purchase. I like the portability. I like what I can do with it. Again, it's the perfect solution for me for a Q-snap. I have looked at other reviews where there are some difference of opinions about how well it works with a hoop. I can't speak to that. I don't stitch with a hoop. Well, okay, I take that back. I don't regularly stitch with a hoop. I have hoops. Even this year I've stitched on a hoop. But I don't regularly stitch on a hoop. And again, that wasn't the solution that I was looking to solve, right? So what the best answer is if you're looking for something for a hoop, I won't provide an opinion on that because that's not what I do. But I have got this for the Q-snap. so far I'm loving it. I love it. I love it. And again, caveat, if you're going to an 11 by 11 Q-snap, I don't think you're going to be happy with this. If you're, I was watching somebody this week where they were talking about, oh, I think I really need to put this project on 11 by 17 Q-snap. And this is what happens in my head. I sat there and I went, oh, that won't work with Velke Potoky. Anyway, now, it's not that the 11 by 17 is the wrong answer. But again, I specifically got this because I was looking for a stand that was portable, that I could take with me to stitching things that I would be using with my Q-snaps. The fact that I've gotten here and I've said, yeah, 8 by 8 or 6 by 6 is what I'm taking, no problem. Because as you can see, even with, you know, Dreaming of a White Christmas, I have no problems, you know, putting all my other stuff on here. Now, I actually have not, you know, because I'm starting at the top and working down, I haven't actually put a grime guard on with this. But again, I'm not terribly concerned about it. But I will say I haven't tried that step about if I put a grime guard on over top of it. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. It comes in, I think, about 6 different colors. I was on their website and I was looking to see if they were giving sort of the status of how long they were expecting orders to take, and the answer was they didn't have anything concrete on there. They were very clear that shipping is slow. No big surprise. They didn't have anything on there that said that they were not producing or that they'd been shut down with everything that's going on in the Ukraine. So my answer to you is, like, if you're interested and you go like, I would like it, but like with everything in the Ukraine and 27 other things, my answer is I wouldn't worry about placing the order, because I said before, you can place your order and you don't have to pay. Now, whether or not it takes 3 months for them to come back to you to say we're ready to ship, or whether it's 4 or 5, or like, I don't know what the length of time is. I know I was looking at somebody where they said they had been waiting, and like it had been like just shy of a year. Like it was maybe 11 months from the time they placed the order from the time they got it. My recollection from when I was looking at that one, it was they were ordering like at when everything was in lockdown. Like shipping was horrendous for 27 things. Like, you know, this is like back in the days when you couldn't ship to Australia, and like there were problems all over everywhere. So I don't know how much of the pandemic factored into that time frame. I will say I did not have to wait a year to get mine. So I think mine is like just shy. No, it's probably just under 6 months start to finish. From the time I placed the order, from the time I received it. It did take a long time to get here. As I said, the shipping was taking longer than I was expecting. Partially because I thought it was coming from Czechoslovakia. I had not clicked in that it was coming from the Ukraine. Anyway, but it arrived safe and sound. I think it's a great, I've loved it. Yes, I haven't had it for 27 years. I've only been stitching on this for a couple of weeks, but I have been using it for every project that I'm using on a Q-snap. So even looking at, you know, I am using it on a tabletop. You know, so I use it on a tabletop at the library. I have these collapsible tables that I use when if I'm looking for a surface while I'm stitching at home, TV tray, etc., whatever. You know, so I am using it. So I would not say that this is a lap stand. And I watched somebody where it's like going, I don't know that I would, like, well, on me. Now, partially because it's not like I'm the tallest of people. You know, sorry, I'm having to adjust. Well, see, I'm doing it here going, could I use it as a lap stand? Yes, I could. You can't see it, but could I use it as a lap stand? Yes. Do I think it is the ideal lap stand? No, not necessarily, just because I think it's a little too wobbly for me. because the base isn't quite wide enough. Like if they made the base like about that much wider, then I could probably would go, yeah, I can easily use it in my lap. But it's worst case scenario, if I ended up somewhere and they were like, we don't have table space for you, could I use it in my lap? My answer is yes, I probably could. I would prefer to use it working on a tabletop, just because it gives me that sort of angling that I like. But yeah, I got it. It arrived. I'm really enjoying it. Like I say, I am using it for everything that I'm stitching that's Q-snap related, and quite frankly, I'm probably going to that's probably going to continue. Now, if I had something where I felt like I had to do it on an 11 by 11 Q-snap, one, I wouldn't, well, I could take it somewhere, but I do have a floor, I have a couple of floor stands that an 11 by 11 is no problem. But again, I specifically got this to take, to travel, to go places, to throw in the bag, whatever. And so again, it's been on its first outing. It's got another outing coming up. So yeah, I'm happy with my Velke Potoky. Yeah, I'm really glad I got it. Anyway, so I will put a link to their site. This is the desktop holder mini. So they do have a variety of ones. This is the smallest of ones. There's that lovely drying thread again. This is the smallest of the ones that they have. And this is perfect for what I want. I know that I'd looked at a couple of the other ones and I just went, no, too big, not as portable. And the thing that originally sent me down the Velke Potoky path, because if you can blame them for 1, 2, 47 things, you might as well blame them for a lot. This is StitchCon's fault. Not the StitchCon I attended, but in 2021, when I was watching the StitchCon recap videos, there were several of them, and you know, they were sort of showing what people were working on and some pans of some tables and all that kind of stuff. And I was like going, holy smokes, like there's like, I know there was at least one one table where I'm like, everybody at that table had a Velke Potoky. And, you know, they had these things, and it's like, there's a Velke Potoky, and there's a Velke Potoky, and there's a Velke Potoky. That's what sent me down this path. Now, there are, and again, because I've watched some other StitchCon recaps where someone was making the comments like, why did I not know that Lowry had a tabletop clamp? Oh my goodness, I need a tabletop clamp, because then it's easier to take my Lowry. And that's fine for them. A Lowry doesn't necessarily work for me for a variety of reasons that's not related to this, but I don't like the tabletop clamps, just because I have seen people arrive at some locations with tables where they've got the weirdest lip on a table in a room going, where you've got like the people going like, how do I, wait a minute, can I move it? And what if is it better on the corner? Can I get it around something? And I've seen some really unusual sides to tables. Like if you just got a straight up table that's attached to, you know, some support legs or a center support, you're away to the races. But I have seen some people with some tabletop attachments, whether it's for their magnifier, their light, whatever, that they've arrived somewhere with a table that has the weirdest shape and they can't get their tabletop clamp attached. So that's why I choose to steer away from the tabletop clamps style of things, just because I've seen too many people have problems. And my answer is, if I take this and I can just, right, set it on the table, I'm good to go, right? No fuss, no muss. You know, I think it's great portability. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a great weight. Doesn't add anything into the bag. I always forget which way to do this. Now again, because it isn't, I don't take it traveling all the time. But again, I like the fact that, right, that's like probably just under 3 Yeah, probably just under 3 inches of width. Again, I will take it with the, I've lost it, with my felt bag for traveling, but that's my Velke Potoky. It arrived safe and sound. I was very happy to see it. I did send a text message to a friend and all it said is Velke Potoky. Anyway, if you have any questions that you'd like me to talk about Velke Potoky, feel free to throw them down in the comment section down below. Happy to answer any of them. Yeah, it's arrived. I'm thrilled with it. I think it's a great addition. I am having my moment saying, like, okay, you need to stop with the stands now. You have everything you need for every situation you could possibly come up with. Just knock it off. So my expectation now is that there shouldn't be, well, technically, there could be one more stand review because I've never done this particular stand that I own and the review of it, but there could be one other one, but my answer is like, I'm done with the adding to the stands that I'm using. All right, and with that, we're at 1:26. Let's end this before we hit 2 hours. Hopefully we'll end it before we hit 1.5 hours, and we can get this one uploading at some point. It'll get uploaded at some point after the bonus one is uploaded and running. All right, with that, I'm looking around at the bags and the piles and the things going, that's it for this week. So thank you for stopping by. As always, if you have questions, comments, concerns, topics you would like me to address, please feel free to throw them down in the comment section down below. Love to have the conversation with you. A reminder for people who are local to Calgary, Alberta, we are having another stitching get-together at the Signal Hill Library on Saturday, July the 23rd from 9:30 to 12:30. Details are in the notes section down below. And as always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine, and as similar to last week, unfortunately, there's been some more violence in the world, which is distressing. So please, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope that you're finding some time to do your stitching and that your stitching is bringing you some joy, contentment, respite, all the good things that come with stitching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Hope you had a great Canada Day. Happy July 4th, and I will totally admit that I am absolutely remiss in my checking on other international countries to see if they've got important dates around this week. But if you are celebrating something in the country where you are, I hope you have a great celebration, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, guys.